The student remarks to the graduating class will be offered by Jonah Ortiz. Well, Mr. Ortiz graduates today with an MA in political science. He graduated last year from King's College in New York City with a degree in politics, philosophy, and economics. During his time as a graduate and undergraduate student, his research and writing have focused on 1960s American politics and the recent rise of populism. He hopes to apply his studies of politics to a life of public service. Mr. Ortiz.
Well, thank you, Dean Alonso, for that very kind introduction. Dear Executive Vice President Madigan, faculty and staff, friends, family, and the MA class of 2018, after spending much of my life dreaming of going to a school like Columbia, but never thinking it would be possible, it is difficult to express how both delightful and surprising this moment feels. I would like to share this moment and use this moment to share my thoughts on the challenges that face us as a graduating class and how I believe that our time at Columbia has best prepared us to meet them. While we may come from different disciplines and backgrounds, one common thread that unites us all is belief. By belief, I'm not referring to religion, faith, or ideology, but something more human than that. An abiding trust and hope in ourselves, in each other, and in things we cannot yet see. I'm talking about the belief we had in ourselves when we applied to Columbia, and the belief that our families, including our mothers, had in us, shown through their encouragement. I'm speaking of the belief that our professors have in us, the commitment and care that they showed to us in class and in office hours, bequeathing to us their passions. I'm referring to the belief that we have in our fellow students, alongside whom we studied late into the night in the library. Belief in ourselves and in our future is precisely why we have undertaken all of these challenges. Belief is the lifeblood of this university. Belief is also the basis of the bonds in our society. Belief in our institutions and our scholars, our artists, and each other help keeps our world together. That bond has been fraying as belief has been eroding. In the United States, as well as much of the rest of the world, belief in our institutions, our government, our leaders, and our laws are at historic lows. In this fake news era, belief in the media has similarly crumbled, with basic conceptions of truth being called into question. Even as our scientists and scholars produce better and better research, public trust in that research has been strained, with scientific facts often being ignored in public debates. Perhaps most concerning of all has been the erosion of belief in one another and in ourselves. With our technological advances, our world should be closer than ever before, but too often it feels as if we could not be more alone and more alienated from one another. Too often we view those different from us with cynicism and suspicion. We are on a fast and dangerous course that has narrowed our understanding of us while broadening our understanding of them. And that course has manifested itself in previously unimaginable ways. Worse still, in face of the rising currents of this sea of cynicism, we lose belief in ourselves and in our capacity to make a difference. How then shall we face these challenges? What we cannot do is to surrender to this cynicism and remain safe within the comforting walls of familiarity. The professors at Columbia I have most admired reminded me that behind every bit of research and data is life. In whatever we do, we must remain engaged with the world beyond the campus and the lab. No natural scientist should ever forget the splendor of nature, nor should any scientist or scholar of the humanities lose sight of humanity itself. Given the opportunities we have been granted, we must always ask what more we can be doing for others. To meet this challenge, I believe what is first required is understanding. If we wish to see the bonds of belief made whole again in this world, we must first do so by our own example. We must be willing to listen to those who are different from us and to use all of our scholarly skills of discernment to discern the humanity in each other. And in so doing, live in a spirit of patience, of understanding, and of love. Second, we must never forget the opportunities given to us by a Columbia education. Fewer than 1% of all people of all time have ever been given an opportunity such as this. And as much as our hard work has helped us arrive here, we had nothing to do with being in a circumstance where hard work could yield a Columbia education. Somewhere, there are people with our same yearnings, our same abilities, but because of circumstance, they could not have this opportunity. We must not ever forget that. That is why, finally, I believe that our graduating class must not only appreciate these opportunities, but that we have an obligation to make use of them. As we were given the chance to live out our dreams of learning here, we ought to continue to dream big. And in the words of our university's founder, Samuel Johnson, clear our minds of the word can't. For scientists, that means pursuing the research closest to your heart and proposing the projects not that bear the promise of peer approval or career advancement, but that reflect your conscience and that you believe are the most noble and daring because you believe they are worthwhile and ought to be ventured. For those of you who wish to teach, teach not where is most comfortable, but where students most require your wisdom and your learning. For those who wish to go into public service and activism, do not give in to cynicism or despair, but instead remember the words of Dr. King that now is always the time to do what is right. That is a future worth the work that brought us here, worth the opportunity given to us, and is worth believing in. Our lives are far too short to believe in anything less. That is the same spirit of hope and belief that guided so many lives of Columbia's previous graduates. That is how, in that same spirit, an immigrant who was young, scrappy, and hungry managed to rise from Columbia to the Capitol and inspired a Broadway musical. It's with that spirit that in 1952, a Columbia MA graduate later went on to become the first Black woman elected to the United States Congress. It was with that spirit that a young woman, a refugee from Czechoslovakia, later graduated from Columbia and went on to become Secretary of State, making the world a more peaceful place. And it is with that same spirit that 14 years ago, an 8-year-old boy, unsure of whether he had the means or the abilities to even go to college, could tell himself that it didn't matter that he never met anyone who went to an Ivy League school, because one day he would be speaking to the graduating master's class of Columbia University in 2018. And thank you. And in following that spirit and that belief, at a future graduation, years from now, let it be said of our class and our generation that we, in the words of Harlem's great Langston Hughes, became the builders of the temples of tomorrow, strong as we know how. Let it be said that when we built those temples of tomorrow, in classrooms and boardrooms, in streets and Senate halls, let it be said that we built them with care and that we built them with heart and with loud love, and that we built them because it was hard. Let it be said of us that we built them like Columbia graduates. Let it be said today and for all time that we are Columbia graduates. And at Columbia, the future is always your story to write. So you can tell the world that we are ready to shed our cynicism and stand together. And with our eyes forever fixed on the horizon, we are ready to hope. We are ready to dream. And yes, we are ready to believe again. Thank you, everyone, for giving me this chance. And congratulations, my fellow graduates. I love you all. Thank you.